Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Aroa and today I'll be sharing my smart tips on solo traveling. So if you're interested on traveling on your own and you want to hear some smart tips and tricks that I have gathered through my trips, then keep watching. Okay, so the first tip is to do proper research on the neighborhoods that you are going to be attending. So proper research means that you Google maybe what sort of crimes happen in those neighborhoods. And I know it's not very pleasant to Google crimes or to get into, looking this sort of information, but it's extremely important because sometimes you think that every place is like your place where you live in, and unfortunately that's not the case. So it's better to be cautious and it's better to just Google some information about the neighborhoods where you plan to stay. If you're going to book an Airbnb, just do a bit of research before you book the Airbnb on the neighborhood. Think about the history, the places around the neighborhood. Just try to Google it or try to look up some information on YouTube, because those two platforms are extremely useful and you might be surprised on what actually pops up, because different places have different history, different cultures, different values. So it's always good, just so that you're more familiar with where you're going to be, to do a little bit of research on neighborhoods and to find out, what type of neighborhood you'll be staying with, what the culture is in that neighborhood, what ethnicity lives the most in that neighborhood, if it's more of a, let's just say, fancy neighborhood, or if it's more of a lower income neighborhood. So those are things that really can make a huge impact on your safety. And so it's so important when you are specifically a female solo traveler to be a little bit cautious and do at least 30 minutes of online research so that you can make sure that you're as safe and as happy as possible. So tip number 2 for solo traveling is actually to use ChatGPT. So if you're not used to ChatGPT, I totally recommend you to download the app on your phone so that you do not need to carry your laptop with you necessarily, but have the ChatGPT app on your phone, because if you've never used it, you will be surprised on how many questions it can answer for you in just a click of a second. In just 1 second you can get so many questions answered. And so sometimes if you're stuck and you do not know the answer to a specific question, or if you need to get to a place and you're lost, or if you need some restaurant recommendations suddenly out of nowhere and you did not plan for that, ChatGPT is your best friend. Okay, so that's the difference between older generations and like younger generations. So older generations, for example, like my parents, are still asking people on the street when they travel. If they get lost or if they do not know something, they just go and ask someone on the street. And it's not like you shouldn't do that, you can, but luckily nowadays we have ChatGPT to answer the question. So definitely download it, and imagine that you're walking and you do not see anyone on the street that you can ask the question. You always have ChatGPT. So definitely think about ChatGPT as a nice assistant, okay, and download it, because you'll be surprised on how useful it really is. Okay, so my smart tip for solo traveling number 3 is to pack light. So when I travel on my own and I do not have anybody else coming with me, I always try to pack light. And if I need more stuff, maybe I buy it over there and then bring a heavier luggage or buy a bigger luggage when I come back, just because when I come back home I already know where I'm going, but when I go there to the place I do not know where I'm going. So it gives me a lot more flexibility to basically travel light, because I do not have to carry a big luggage with me, and I can, for example, take public transportation. Just when I arrive there, I can move around easily. So I certainly recommend that. Obviously, it's not going to be everyone's preferred way of traveling, especially for females, because many females need a lot of stuff. But I think traveling light just gives you so much more freedom, because you can move around, like I said, way easily. And I think at the end of the day, it's also better for your mental health, because how much stuff do you really need? Like, ask yourself this question: how much stuff do you really need? Right? So if you can minimize your toiletries, you can minimize your cosmetics, you can minimize the amount of clothing that you need and just wash, I think that is a much smarter way for solo traveling, because you have nobody to help you out with the weight. So think wisely about how much weight you can actually carry. My next tip for solo traveling is to have backups. So I cannot stress it enough. I have to tell you guys something that happened to me the other day. So the other day I went on a train, okay, and I went to a completely new city, and literally 10 minutes after I arrived on the train to that brand new city I had never been, I went into a coffee shop. I got my phone out and my entire screen froze. And you know what? I panicked because I did not have another phone, and I thought about taking another phone with me before I left, and I didn't, because I wasn't cautious enough. But I should have been, because my screen froze. I do not know how it froze, but I couldn't even turn my phone off, because you need to slide with your finger to turn it off, and I could not do that because my screen had frozen. So anyway, I freaked out because I had my train tickets and everything on my phone, and especially you need Google Maps, right, to move around a place that you've never been. You need Google Maps on your phone. So I freaked out, and this is why I say bring a backup with you, especially a phone backup. So make sure that you have a different phone that you can use, maybe switch the card and turn on if necessary, because anything can happen to your current phone, and phones are so essential for our safety and our well-being nowadays, and moving around, shopping, just everything, almost everything, just when you travel on your own, needs your phone. You need your phone to get around. So at least I do. So definitely make sure you bring a backup with you, and you carry your backup with you, because if you leave your backup phone somewhere else, then you cannot grab it when you need to. Imagine that someone steals your phone, or you lose it, you leave it somewhere. At least you can rest assured that you have another phone that you can use to get back home, because you do not have your friends or maybe your family with you. So when you're doing solo traveling, it's so important to have a backup for anything you need, but especially your phone. Okay, on my last smart tip for solo traveling, guys, is to share your itinerary with friends or family before you go. So I recommend that you always have at least one person that you're sharing where you're going, just in case. I mean, nothing's going to happen, but if something happens and people cannot contact you, at least people know where to look for you. So yes, just try to tell at least one person that you really trust where you're going, where you're staying, and what your planned itinerary is. Even if you're doing solo traveling, for example, I always tell my family where I am, okay, because they need to. Honestly, I have a very loving family that I'm very grateful for, and so they, even though they are okay with me traveling the world on my own, and I've been doing that for many years, they still need to know where I am, because if not, if something happens, they do not know where to look for me. And also, I try to give emergency contacts that are close to where I am, if possible. Not always that's possible, because if you're going somewhere completely new and you do not know anyone there, it's not possible. But if you go somewhere new and you socialize there and you meet people there that you think are okay, you could potentially provide some kind of contact there. But it depends on the relationship you have with those people, obviously. But at least definitely share your itinerary, share your location with someone who cares, just in case, just to be safe. Okay guys, so those are my tips for solo traveling. Solo traveling is like a really big aspect of my life. If you do not know about me, I am Spanish from Spain, and I went to the US to study my degree at the age of 17, and my family did not come with me because obviously they worked, so they had to continue working in Spain. So I did that completely on my own, and I consider that solo traveling 100%, because I did not know anyone in that country or at university before. So I went there for years to study, and I made friends there when I was there. But that was a big solo traveling experience. And then when I moved to the UK after I graduated, that's also another solo traveling experience I got. Settling into the UK, I did not know anyone here, but I was quite experienced with this because of what I did in the States already. Just getting used to the new culture, making new friends. It's become part of who I am. So definitely something that I really much love, doing solo traveling. And this is specifically for the people that do not feel lonely when they are alone, because you know, that's a very interesting thing to mention in this video. Not everyone is a fan of solo traveling, and not everyone has the personality for it, because I know plenty of people who just do not like being on their own at all, and they feel lonely. But you know that if you're watching this video, you're probably not one of those people. Just like myself, I never really felt lonely on my own. It's like I've just enjoyed the opportunity that it gives me to experience something new and to build relationships where I am. And yeah, for me, I think it's a really incredible experience that everyone should try. So I hope you liked this video. Comment your thoughts and your tips for solo traveling if you have anything else that I did not say, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.